Here's why you should give up on your dreams, and here's what to do instead. When you were a kid, did you know what you wanted to be when you grew up? I mean, what are your dreams? Like, I'm actually curious. If you're watching this video, like, tell me your dreams. Have you accomplished them? Have you given up on them? Have you changed them? Like, what is your big dream now, and have you achieved it? I hit a place where I sort of achieved the dream, and then now I feel kind of lost. I'm still trying to find my way there. It's a big reason for making this video right now. But with the new year coming, and a lot of what we want to do in the beginning of a new year is really set some big goals and really achieve and make a big transformation in our life. And I remember being really, really broke as a personal trainer, trying to support my family, no health insurance. It was one of the most difficult things to, like, we were on vacation. We were in Reno, me and my wife, and we just living off coupons, and it was a great life. It's a great life. We made the best of it, but it still didn't feel like I was achieving what I could possibly do to basically provide for my family. At the time, I think we only had one kid at the time, and I wanted to get to a new level. And it wasn't until I really focused in on this idea that I'm about to tell you right now. So here's the question. Do you want to reach new levels of income, new levels of your career, of your business growth? Here's what you need to do. Focus on being useful. Focus on providing value. It's probably something you've heard before, but it's something that is one of those cliche sayings that's absolutely true. And when you're first starting out in business and you're trying to connect with people, like, one of the biggest secrets is to provide a ton of value, overwork yourself, and really show how much of a person of value you are. Because the reality is there's very few people that are like that. You do a lot of work for people, you provide a lot of value for people, especially in the very beginning, and you expect nothing in return. Because what will happen is eventually someone will notice. You'll get another opportunity. And even if you don't get the opportunity that you think you're going to get, the reality is you're doing it for yourself. One of the best quotes that I have lived my life, that sort of the first time I heard it when I was 19 years old was from Jim Rohn. He said, work harder on yourself than you do at your job. And it's kind of one of those things that sort of stuck with me for a very long time. You work hard on yourself. Like this idea that if you journal every day and you listen to audio tapes, at the time, that's how old I am, like you would eventually become rich. You'd become financially free. So I did that for years. And it's funny, it actually worked. The funny part about it is if you can brainwash yourself into believing that you can achieve something, you'll think a lot bigger than most people, and you'll be able to ask for more that people are scared to ask for. Now, when I say, now that sounds kind of counterintuitive to what I just said earlier about like giving up on your dreams. But what I mean is like a dream. Like typically, what did I want to do when I wanted it? I wanted to be like a baseball player, right? I wanted to be able to beat Nolan Ryan's baseball record, if you know him. He had like 5,000 strikeouts or something like that, right? And I was like overweight. I was like 13. I hadn't played really any baseball. I couldn't really run. I was just out of shape. I couldn't hit the ball. It was terrible. But that was one of my dreams. I bet my brother $1 million that I would beat his record. That might be wrong, but I feel like I did. But that's one of the coolest things about being young and a kid. You have these big dreams. But then when you get older, you get married, you have some kids, or maybe you don't have kids, you have a girlfriend, you're in a relationship, maybe you're just moving along, but you're not moving along as fast as you want, but you still have these big dreams. I'm wondering like if you've given up on them or if you're still pursuing them. Because the interesting part about it is that initial spark of what it means to like have a big dream kind of drives you in the beginning, right? It's believing things are easier than they are, and it's thinking really, really big. And then what happens when you get into your teens and your 20s and your late 20s and 30s, and I'm 40 now, I'm 42, or I'll be 42, like it just wears on you. The world wears on you, and you start to create realistic goals. And it happened to me around 2008 during the financial crash where I lost a lot I lost my house. I lost 2 houses that I owned through foreclosure. I almost lost the house that I lived in, made a bunch of mistakes, claimed bankruptcy, and I had a lot of hard lessons that I learned kind of the hard way. So my dreams sort of faded into the background. And the reason why I say give up on your dreams and why I'm even saying this in the first place is because the dreams is too much in the air, too much in the cloud. I think Gary Vaynerchuk calls it like clouds and dirt. And when you are making $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year, with a family of 3 at the time, we just had 1 child at the time, your head is too much in the clouds, right? There's this idea that like you want to dream big, but then at some point you actually have to do the work that's required to even achieve that dream. And that's kind of what I mean. Like, that's why you should give up on your dreams, because it's focusing on the dirt that actually gets you to the dream, right? I think that you do need both, but I think the problem that I had and why I suggest that people should give up on their dreams is because when you focus too much on your dreams, I think you become a little jaded. You lose sense of like, I want a six pack, but you're not going to diet and exercise. Like you want to make $1 million, but you're not in sales, right? Or you're not in some sort of business where you have profit share, right? Or you're not learning the skills necessary to earn $1 million, right? So it's getting in the dirt, right? It's getting into that, like the mess of what is required and just kind of like enjoying practice. Like a lot of great athletes who are the best at what they do, they love practice. And then the game just happens to be the thing that they crush and do really well at because they've practiced so much. And that's kind of what I mean by giving up on your dreams. The dream should not be, in a way, if you focus on making your dream like the practice and the process, that's actually how you end up becoming successful. If your goal is to shoot like 1,000 free throws a day, I don't even know anything about basketball practice, but just as an example, by the time you get in front of the free throw line and you have all the skills necessary to play a championship game, you're going to win. Right? You're just going to be available. And it's become so boring because you practice so much. And it's sort of, so that's kind of what I did. I killed my dreams. I sort of gave up on them. Like my little dream that I changed it to was, okay, I'm making $50K a year as a personal trainer. My goal is to make $50K a year, but working in half the time. The second thing I wanted to do is I wanted to make $50K a year working half the time, but I also wanted to do it from anywhere in the world. So I basically shrunk my dreams. Like if I could accomplish that milestone that I really, truly, I believed in, like the dirt, the sort of the mechanics of what I needed to do to achieve, like, I guess you would call them milestone. I guess what I'm saying is like you kill your dreams or you give up on your dreams to focus on a milestone that's sort of like this springboard. Because in my head, what I thought about is that if I can make $50,000 a year working 20 hours a week, if I wanted to, I can work 40 hours a week and make $100,000 a year. And at the time, I don't think I've ever made $100,000 a year. But let's go back to this topic of being useful. Solve problems for people who want their problems solved. That's what it means to be useful. Work harder on yourself than you do at your job. Do above and beyond what is expected of you at work. And it will lead to so much like opportunity and wealth and favor. You know, one of the things I remember, the vice president of fitness for 24 Hour Fitness, his name was Eric Jenkins. Unfortunately, he like died, I think a week after I met him in a car accident. And this was back in 2001, I think, or 2002. He said that the goals that you set for yourself in the gym to sell training, to sell memberships or whatever you want to do, right? The people that sell, the goals that you set for yourself will be much higher than what your manager would. There's this kind of funny saying that's sort of supposed to like get you really motivated to like quit your job or find a new business. And it goes something like, if you don't make plans on your own, you will fall into someone else's plans, or you're going to end up building other people's dreams. Here's the thing, like build another person's dream. During the process, especially in the beginning, if you help build someone else's dream, it's just going to lead to better things, whether it leads to another opportunity with that individual or it leads to skills and resilience that allows you to do other things on your own. I think more than anything, it's just that confidence of being able to support yourself through business. You just have to think about other people and the other people at work, your direct manager, the people that you support, or your customers especially. The better that you can go above and beyond to sort of wow the customer or wow your boss. Some call this sucking up or kissing ass, but really that's not what this is about. This is about being incredibly valuable to the organization, being incredibly valuable to your manager, being incredibly valuable to the CEO. Because when you start to become incredibly useful, you become indispensable. Like you become someone that is very difficult to replace. You become so valuable. And I've taken that with me so far. And it's amazing what that little idea, how far it can take you. So I guess it's a little clickbait. I did say, like give up on your dreams. I guess really what I mean is give up on your dreams if they don't make sense for your skills, right? If anything, you think of your dream as something that's like a little tiny little dot in the back of your head that maybe you just kind of maybe stash away. But if you focus on your dream, like focusing and wishing for your dream and manifesting your dream is not going to allow you to achieve your dream. Some people like to think it does. I mean, one might think like if you focus on all these positive thoughts and all these positive feelings, your dreams will come true. And I believe there's a little bit of truth to that. But that might only apply to maybe like a small percentage of the population, right? Like you want to feel good, but it doesn't even matter if you feel good. The thing is you have to do the things that are necessary to become successful. Like simple stuff, show up to work on time. If you're working customer service, you have a smile on your face, you have energy, right? You turn your work in on time. You do better than everybody else, or not even better than everybody. You give everything you have into performing an incredible job to be useful. Before I became a believer in God and Christ and started getting into that, one big belief that I still have actually, if there's any true belief that I have of any religion, it is actually the belief of I believe in what is useful. In the past, believing in Christ and God was not useful. It has now become useful, right? I believe in being useful. I believe in things being useful for me. I wrote this other quote here that I like. Dreams and purpose is still important, but it might not just be what you want on the timeline that you want. There's this famous John Lennon quote. He said, "Life happens when you're out making plans." Another one that's kind of religious is, if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And it's kind of true, right? Like it's one of those things where like you just, no matter how big your dreams are or what you want to accomplish, you just don't know how things are going to end up. And I think that's the reason why I came to faith actually, is because I needed something to believe in that was bigger than me, because I really didn't have anything. Because at some point when you start to believe in quote unquote usefulness, that does, as you get older, as I'm learning, it does start to run out a little bit. One thing about dreams that it's a real dream that's really important to you is if the dream is true to you, something that you want to accomplish, if that dream is true to you, it will bother you and it will never go away. That's actually a big reason why I'm starting this podcast. There's a reason why I'm making these videos. It's because this thing about sharing a message and building an audience online for myself is something that has been an itch that I've been wanting to scratch for a very long time. And I've dabbled here and there, and I've done a few things over the years, but I've never taken a serious effort in doing this. I didn't start taking this seriously or made a full commitment to this until October 2024, right? So I'm just in the process of doing this, and it's a dream of mine because I've always thought about it. But the problem was the dream kind of died because I ended up being successful in another place where I was able to be behind the scenes. And if that's your goal, like you can do that too, right? I thought my financial success was going to happen from doing this, but it turns out it came from somewhere else. And this is the thing that I guess you can call it God wants me to do. Another thing about giving up on your dreams and doing something else is, I think the first thing to do is take care of your responsibilities, then pursue your dreams. One of the things I wrote down here is if you can do both at the same time, work weekends, work evenings to kind of work your main job and work the weekend to kind of build the thing that you want to build, sure. But the thing is, if you're married and you have kids, in my opinion, they're the most important thing to you. So those relationships are going to be the things that really get you to where you want to be. And the reality is, money doesn't mean a whole lot if you don't have them, right? The important relationships. What is it? What did Warren Buffett say? He said, definition of happiness is the people you love you back, right? And there's a small percentage of people where your dream, the dream is the same thing as your responsibility, right? So sometimes, again, if you have a responsibility to take care of your family, take care of the household, support your family, whatever you need to do, you're going to have to do that thing. Whether it be something that you may not have a passion about, but you're just good at, you do that, right? And then you work on your dream on the side, right? Or you put on hold until later, right? I think reality is if you just focus on the thing that's producing a lot of money, it produces a lot of money because you're good at it, or you found a special opportunity that you eventually got good at. If they happen to be the same thing, where your responsibility is your dream, there's very few people that have that luck, right? Like a lot of singers and actors tend to be on that route, right? Maybe they grew up with parents that had this desire to become famous or become singers or to become actors, actresses, and who had a dream to be like an athlete, and then they pushed their kids into them. And that's it just became your purpose, right? That happened to Tiger Woods. I think it's happened to Andre Agassi. A lot of people have those stories, but those are a very small percentage of people. For people that are sort of like living a more or less normal life, right? That's not you. But I think that's still possible for some people, right? I think it's just romanticized, right? There's this thing like, how bad do you want it? You just don't want it bad enough. There's some truth in it, but I think there's a lot of bullshit in there too. Like being the starving artist, right? If that's your dream to be an artist, I think you can be a smart artist, not a dumb artist, right? So it's learning how to do a little bit of both, right? I think it's a lot harder if you try to go down the dream route, because if you go down the dream route of achieving something that you want to accomplish, but then eventually find out like you just can't make money there. It's very hard to make money. If you stay on that track, you will find a way to make money. It may not be a lot at first, but you may get your break. I remember heard this story of George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones writer, right? He's been writing books for 30 years until his book got picked up. Or it might have been like almost 30 years. It's crazy, right? Like 30 years, and then he becomes the most famous fantasy writer in the world, right? He stuck to one thing because he loved that thing. So for some people, that's okay, right? If that's the path you want to be on, I think that's okay, especially if you're not having to support anybody, right? But if you have to support people or you want to hedge yourself, because I believe in hedging, like I want to have a retirement. I like to have a comfortable life, I would like to take care of things. I want to have a little bit of security as opposed to burning the boats and giving everything you got to your passion. There's a lot of romance in that, but I think for most people, I don't know if it's dumb, because I think the reality is if you really go for it, it's a selfish act to some degree if you have other people to support or that people depend on you, like a family, for example. I remember heard a story about like someone who gave up his business to become a pastor, and there's a lot of smart things in there, or a lot of great things in there, wisdom, God, and all that stuff. But I didn't hear the whole story, but I'm sure there could have been a better way, right? To not put yourself in a lot of debt. But that's all I got. So I got a book recommendation before I finish this video. One of the books that has had a significant impact on my life, on the way I look at the world, that has improved me the most, is a book by Seth Godin. It's called The Linchpin. Basically, the book, I'll just summarize it for you. It's just become indispensable and ship your product. That's what he said. Ship your product. Ship it. Just get it. And your product could be a service. Just get it out there. So pick up that book. It's been very powerful for me. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you later.